Last week during Minecraft Live, Mojang announced their next big 1.20 update. But unlike previous updates, this one does not yet have a title. The theme, for now, is being kept secret so that they can work directly with the community to shape this update. In previous updates, they would show the full update all at once, where most of the features were still just conceptual and not really guaranteed to make it into the update. But this year, Agnes made it very clear that they would only show features that have come very far along in the development process, and that all of the other features that they have planned would be announced later in weekly snapshots, beginning within days of the live event. And just as promised, only a few days later, on October 19th, they released their very first snapshot containing all of the amazing new features showcased during Minecraft Live. Now, I'm only just now getting around to playing with some of these features, but so far, this is very exciting news because it essentially means that not only do we get to play with these features right away, but we also get to look forward to new features on a weekly basis. That feeling of excitement when a new feature is announced is now something we get to look forward to weekly. And to be honest, I'm all here for it. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into looking at some of these features, starting with the Camel. Look at this thing. Honestly, I love this thing so much. The way it sits, the way it moves, its animations. I mean, look at this thing. It is huge, and it's not even standing up. When it's standing, it is tall. So unlike other mobs, to tame the Camel, all you have to do is place a saddle on it. You don't have to feed it anything special. You don't have to ride it like a horse. You can just put the saddle on, and it's good to go. Now, look at this texture. I love the way the saddle looks on the Camel. I think the Camel actually looks a lot better with the saddle than without. And then once you have that saddle on, you can hop on and you are good to go. Now, as you can see, right off the bat, this thing is pretty slow. I'm riding it, I'm just holding the W key, and I'm moving pretty slowly. But if I double tap the W key, like I'm sprinting, this Camel picks up speed. Look how fast this thing is. This is so amazing. So, this is going to set it apart from other mobs, or so like the horse, for example, because when you're going just in a straight line, it actually moves faster than I think the average horse does. At least that's what they said at Minecraft Live. Now, unlike horses, when you move side to side or even backwards, you're just going to go very, very slow. There's just no getting around it. That's one of the things that makes horses a little bit different. So one of the things that Mojang has made clear is that when they add new mobs like this, they want to add unique characteristics so that one doesn't outweigh another mob. So they don't want people to just switch to camels and never use horses again because they're overpowered. So with that being said, one of the other unique features to camels is that they can actually be ridden by 2 players. As you can see just from looking at the camel, there are 2 seats, one in the front, one in the back. Now I'm in a single player world with just by myself, so I can't actually showcase that to you, but they did show it in Minecraft Live, and that gives players who play on multiplayer servers a lot of really cool options. I can also see camels being very useful for roleplay. Now, a lot of players like myself may not find these things useful, especially later in the game when you have something like an elytra, and that kind of applies to most mounts. Once you have an elytra, you're in the late game, you just don't have much of a reason to use mounts because you can get everywhere via your wings. So for me personally, I can see these things being very useful just to create life and ambience in your world. For example, when you're in a village like this, having a camel around makes it feel like this place is more lived in. If you're building a desert type of build or a city or a town, having these things in your world are going to make it feel so much more alive and give it more character. So for me personally, I can see these things just being really great set pieces. Now, as of the current snapshot, if you want to find these things in your world naturally, you're going to have to travel to a desert village. Currently, as of this snapshot, you can only find these things in a desert village. No other village type, just the desert village. And I think that's really neat. Now, they might change that. This is still an early snapshot, but for the moment, if you want to find these things, you basically have to not just find a desert biome, but you have to actually find a desert village, which I don't know. I think that's kind of a neat feature that is unique to camels. And I would actually kind of like to see that with other mobs as well. Now, these things are very tall. So if I ride one of these things, I am actually very high off of the ground right now. And if there were any other hostile mobs and it were dark, for example, and there were, let's say, zombies nearby, I would actually be too high off of the ground for those zombies to reach me. And maybe I'll showcase that here in a moment, but this means that there are a lot of non-ranged mobs that I can avoid just by riding this camel around. Now, if I'm dealing with a ranged mob, like a skeleton, for example, it's not really going to do me any good because it's just going to shoot me no matter where I am. Or if I'm dealing with a creeper, it's just going to walk up to me and blow up. But when I'm dealing with mobs that are low to the ground, like a zombie, for example, I should be able to be safe if I'm wandering at night and need, safe travel. So here's another really cool feature as well. Because of how tall the camel is, I'm actually able to walk over fences. So right now, horses, for example, actually have the ability to jump over these things, but with camels, because I can't jump, camels don't jump, I can just gracefully walk right over it as if it were just a block. Just as if, I'm walking over a block like this. Look at that. That is really cool. And also, if I believe if it's like a block and a half, it'll also be able to walk over that. Okay, just to test that feature out real quick, here we have a block and a half. So if one full block and a half, and let's see, yep, the camel can walk right over it without any issue at all. That is really cool. One of the other really unique features that I think many players are excited about is the dash feature. So if I approach a ravine in my world like this, unlike other mobs, I would not be able to cross this, but with a camel, I actually have a dash feature that allows me to leap or jump, or not jump, it's actually more of a sprint dash forward, and I should be able to clear this ravine fairly easily. Okay, so let's see if I can time this properly and clear this ravine. Perfect! Oh wow, look, I more than cleared it, I went beyond the ravine. So all I had to do is hold that spacebar, time it perfectly. I'm also sprinting in the process, and yeah, look at that. It's flawless. Now, there is a little bit of a cooldown time. I don't know if you noticed that. So you can't just spam the dash and just keep dashing and dashing and dashing, because otherwise I could make like this. I could make really quick speed. Yeah, see, it took, so here's the dash, and there, it just now cooled down. I could honestly play around with these camels all day, but there is one more mechanic that I think is really important, which is breeding. So here we have 2 camels, and if I use a cactus, I can give one the cactus here, one the cactus here, and they should make a baby camel. Let's see. There it is. Oh my goodness. This is such a cute little mob. Wow. I don't know, I'm speechless. That is so cool. Look at this thing. And of course you can feed the cactus to the baby camel as well to speed its growth, but that is really neat. I love that so much. And I'm really glad that they use the cactus for the breeding mechanic here, because cactuses don't really have that many uses in Minecraft at the moment. They're currently used for, you can farm them to get your green dye, which is one of the only ways you can get green dye in this game. And beyond that, there just really isn't that much of a use for them. So giving features like this that have been around in the game for a very long time more uses is something that I am a huge fan of. To be honest, I don't really have that many critiques for the camel at the moment. I think that this mob is really great. I think the noises it makes are beautiful. They add so much like sound quality and ambience to the game. I think that they're going to be great for role-playing, but there are a few things that I do think could maybe be changed. The first thing that I can think of is I would love, and I know that they've already said that they weren't going to do this probably, but I would love to see some storage on the side. In real life, these animals are used to travel and carry things around, and I don't know, I think that it would make sense. I don't think it would take away from other mobs to have a little bit of storage. You could imagine having just a little bit of extra storage on each side. It doesn't have to be overpowered, but I think that would go a long way. At the very least, the aesthetic would be really neat to have. Just, you can imagine 2 little rolls on both sides carrying just a little bit of extra items. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next new feature, which is going to be the Chiseled Bookshelves. For me personally, I think this might be my favorite, because whenever I'm in a world, I like to be able to document things and store things in an organized way, and this gives us a new feature so that we can put books in bookshelves. Look at that. Honestly, this is something that I've wanted in the game for so long. Instead of having a chest full of all your books, which can kind of look weird and disorganized, you can actually put these things in a bookshelf now. Look at that. That's amazing. And take them out. All right, so let's imagine you have grinded and got all the mending books that you needed in your world, but now you need a place to store them. The old way of storing them would be to open up a chest, put all your mending books in, which I guess is okay, but now we can store these mending books like this. Look at this. With every book that you put in, it just fills the bookshelf one at a time from left to right, top to bottom. And you can see this fills up all the way to 6 books. Now if I right click on this, it'll take the book out one by one. And of course I'm in creative mode, so these are just kind of piling up. But yes, this is amazing. So you can mix and match different books. Right here, let's say I want to take these out. I can take all 3 of these out. I can put, let's see, 2 books in, a mending book in, a couple books and quills, and we're good to go. Now, if you want to craft these things, at the moment, this crafting recipe may change, but currently, all you need is 6 planks across the top, across the bottom, and then some half slabs right across the middle. And there you go, you got a chiseled bookshelf. And honestly, this makes sense. I was kind of thinking at first that you would need books to craft this, but this is an empty bookshelf that you're crafting, so you wouldn't need any books. And in reality, if you actually want to fill this thing with books just for the aesthetic, you're actually going to need more books than you would need to make a normal bookshelf. It's honestly a really good thing too that we don't have to use books to craft these things, because these things can actually be useful for designing. Look at this. You actually have great textures on the top and bottom of the blocks that you can use for a floor, a ceiling. For example, if I put this on the top, you can see it's also on the bottom. And if you use these in the right way, you can actually have these as really great floor and ceiling designs. Now, that's not where they stop. So if we put one here, let's say we'll put one here so that the front of the bookshelf is hidden. The sides also have their own unique pattern. So now you can imagine creating a build with all kinds of unique floor patterns, ceiling patterns, wall patterns, etc. And it just gives, I don't know, I love that because it gives the player so many more options to design their builds. Another important thing to mention is that if you had books inside, let's just fill this all the way up, and you were to accidentally break it, so like this, all the contents will just kind of fall on the ground like this. Which is good because that means you're never going to actually lose your items, which could be a problem. I mean, it might make a little bit of a mess, but, you know, that's not too big of a problem. And of course, the feature that got most people's attention was this, the comparator. If you put the comparator on the back or the side of a bookshelf, it will output a signal. And then you can use that, and they showcase this at Minecraft Live, you can use that to create some really cool, like, secret door designs. And pretty much the way this works is, you know, if you have a comparator and a piece of redstone, it will automatically output one, you know, redstone signal. If I put one book in, it still just does the one redstone, but for every book you put in beyond that, you can see it adds an extra piece of redstone signal. And once you fill it up all the way, you can see all 6 of these blocks are lit. And I can already see this being used in a lot of really unique and creative ways by the Minecraft community. I myself am still, you know, fairly, I would say novice to redstone, but already just looking at this basic mechanic, you can imagine all kinds of really cool designs. One of my main critiques so far for this bookshelf is that when you place these books in, they currently place left to right, kind of like this, you know? And when you want to take them out, you just, you know, right click and take them out. This kind of, I wish you could put these books in specific locations, but beyond that, I think my main critique is that if, let's say you had these full, let's actually just fill them up real quick, right? And let's say you've placed, you know, a few mending books in there, a couple silk touch books, maybe some written books that you've got some messages in. And later you come back, let's say you go out, you do some adventuring, you know, it's been a couple days, you come back to the game, and now you're here, and you don't remember where you've placed everything. I think that's going to be kind of a problem. If I have even just one mending book that I know is somewhere in this bookshelf, I'm going to have to take every single book out until I find it. And that is kind of a problem, because at the moment, if you have a bunch of enchanted books, you can put them in a chest, open that chest, and kind of see everything nicely. So you can kind of just browse through the chest until you see the mending book that you're looking for. So if they could add some kind, if Mojang could add like a UI feature where you maybe shift, I can imagine like a shift click, you shift click the book and then the bookshelf, maybe it opens up a little interface that you can manipulate the books a little bit easier. I think that would go a long way and would help players organize the inventory that they have in these bookshelves. Beyond that, maybe a labeling system could be useful, although I'm not really sure how that would work. Or perhaps you could have like these books themselves in the bookshelves color coded. So, you know, maybe if you have a mending book, you could set all your mending books to be green, for example. And then you'd say, you could look at this, your bookshelves, and you could say, oh, I've got 4. There we go, 4 mending books. And you'd know exactly where those mending books are. That combined with some UI feature, you could then shift click on the proper bookshelf and say, okay, I know there's a mending book right there because I can see it. Shift click, you would see in the inventory the mending book sitting there on the top shelf, and you'd be able to pull it out accordingly. I think that would go a long way and would just give the community a lot more options in terms of how they manage all of their books, which can get very cumbersome. All right, let's move on to the next feature, which is hanging signs. These things are incredible. I mean, we've had signs in the game for as long as I can remember, but we've never had the ability to put signs on the side of blocks, like hanging like this, or more importantly, on the bottom of blocks. Now, with regular signs, you could normally just put them on the face of a block, but now we can put them hanging off to the side like this, or we can put them underneath a block like so. We've never had this ability before, and I love this so much. It gives us so many more options. It's kind of one of those other features where you hear it announced in Minecraft Live and you think, why hasn't this been done sooner? It feels very Minecraft, it fits very well into this game, and it just gives players more options, which is something that's going to allow players to spice up their builds. When you're walking through a town like this, you can have little hanging signs that stick out without you needing to, you know, kind of manufacture something yourself using, you know, a bunch of blocks. You can see all of the really cool diversity here. You've got oak, you've got spruce and birch, and literally every wood type in the game. But you can notice that the wood looks a little bit different than the actual, you know, planks that you usually see signs being made from. And that's because these are made from stripped logs rather than actual planks, which gives you just another aesthetic that makes these hanging signs just a bit different from the signs that you would place on the ground. And we can see really quickly, if we put one of each of these different signs down, real quick, we'll just do one of each of the regular signs, you can see that the difference is, you know, pretty clear. These are clearly made with the actual planks themselves, whereas this is made from the stripped logs. So to craft these things, we are actually going to need 6 full stripped logs, and then 2 chains. And this is actually going to be a little bit more expensive, but as you can see, we're getting 6 hanging signs from that. So even though they are a bit more expensive, you're still getting 6 signs out of it. So that's basically 1 log per sign, and that's compared to regular signs, which are 6 just regular planks with a stick, and you get 3 signs out of that. So for every one of the hanging signs that you make, you're basically using a full log, whereas for every, you know, oak sign, regular sign that you're making, you're using, well, this is 3, so a half a log. So it is basically twice as expensive, plus you're also using the chain. So it's a little bit more expensive, but honestly, with what you're getting, I think it's worth it. Now, before we continue, I do want to make sure we cover all of the different ways that you can hang these signs. We've already covered that you can put them on the sides of blocks like this. And when you do that, it just basically puts a little post on the side and then hangs the sign down from that. And there's some really cool and interesting features that come with that, because you can actually extend it. You can keep going on. And actually, let me do it with the sign above so we can see it hanging in the air. We can hang these up like this, and then have them stretch across. And the actual beam itself is a block that you can actually interact with. If you stand on it, you don't fall through it like you would a normal sign. So you can actually make some interesting, like, catwalks. And the cool thing is these are persistent, so when you delete one of these on the end that's actually attached, they remain floating there. Of course, we've also included that you can put these signs on directly on the bottom of blocks, and when you do that, instead of having that little post, it just connects those chains directly to the bottom of the block itself. So if I were to break one of these blocks, it would just break in that case. Over here, this is something we haven't covered yet. You can actually put these on like fence posts. So when you do it like this, when you place a hanging sign on one of these, I assume it would also work with walls and other narrow points like this. It basically brings the chain in a V section like this and hangs it in a unique way. And then from there, you can see you can actually put them at different angles. And then even further, you can hang signs from other signs. So now you can see how you can get really creative with this and make interesting looking banners, interesting looking like festival type hanging beams or whatever you want to call them. And you can do that in various ways too, with the, at angles, and that'll keep that V chain shape intact. Or you could just do it straight on like this, and they'll hang like the standard 2-chain model that hangs from the bottom of blocks. As far as critiques go, I think the only thing I would change is it would be nice. Let me just put some, just some text here real quick. I think it would be nice if you could have text on both sides. I mean, I understand why they have it this way because, if you inverted this message on the side, on the other side, it might kind of read differently if you had like an arrow or something. I don't know. I still think it would be nice to have, especially if you're like in a town setting like this. Look, I have text on this side that says Sarah's house. But if I come around the corner this way, I don't know what that sign is. I may even overlook it and just assume it's a set piece with nothing on it and just completely miss that there's something on the sign. So I don't know. I think it would maybe be a good idea to put text on both sides, but I don't know. I'm up in the air about that. But I think the one thing that I know for sure that they're still playing around with is the amount of text you can put on the sign. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. And I can't really fit anything else on the sign. So it really limits the amount of what you can say on a sign. If I wanted to put enchanted books, I can't even fit that on a sign. But other than that, I think these signs are pretty great. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, a brand new wood type. Look at this. This is clean. We have bamboo wood in the game now, and it not only has the bamboo wood, but it also has a brand new bamboo mosaic, which is really nice and clean. For, I can see this being used for floor, ceiling designs in much the same way that we saw, like the tops and bottoms of that chiseled bookshelf. But yeah, we have the stairs, slabs, the whole suite here is present. We've got fences and everything. And I think one of the cool things too is we get a new wood sound. Here, if you pay close attention, we've got a new wood sound. And compare that to, so this is a normal oak wood, and this is a bamboo wood. Different sounds, and I love it. So technically, according to the Snapshot page, this now means that there are 3 different sounds for 3 different woods. So your normal woods that include all of your oak, spruce, birch, etc. sounds like this. You got doors, trap doors, and then you have your nether woods, which has its own unique sound. And then now we have these. And these new sounds also apply to when you place blocks down and when you walk across them. So if we place down one of each, you can see each one has its own unique sound. I love it. I love it. So cool. And it also applies to when you walk over them. So if I walk over the bamboo, compared to if I walk over the oak, compared to if I walk over the crimson planks. So this is really cool. This means when you are creating a build or when you are designing a set in your game, you can actually incorporate what kind of sounds you want the player to hear when you're walking through like a house. If you want to create a house that has this bamboo sound to it, you can design the flooring with that in mind. I really am a sucker for new sound types, so Mojang, keep them coming. But let's not overlook some of the details here. Look at the door. We have new textures for the door, a new texture for these nice, clean trapdoors, which I think are going to be so useful. we have also, you know, of course, you got your buttons and pressure plates. And of course, I didn't show this before because I was saving it, but we have signs as well. So we have another, you know, regular sign type and another hanging bamboo sign as well to add to our hanging sign collection. Okay, so to craft this thing, this actually might be my favorite part, is all you need is 4 bamboo. And if you put a full stack in there, you get 16, well, hold on, there we go. We get 16 bamboo planks. That is amazing. And the reason this is probably my favorite part of this new wood type is that with all the other woods in this game, you don't really have a way to automate the process. If you wanted to make an automated farm to get all the wood in the game early on, you know, you can't really do that unless you're willing to make this, you know, some kind of really complicated TNT duping system, which, you know, if you don't know what that is, there's probably a good reason, because they're really, really complicated and hard to make. But now with bamboo's easy to grow. You can make very easy automated farms with bamboo. So for the first time, we now actually have a mechanic in this game that gives us the ability to farm wood in a relatively easy manner. And that, you know, obviously if you wanted to farm a specific type of wood like oak wood for a build, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you wanted to make something that doesn't require a specific wood type for the build, like if you wanted to build a crafting table, you can use any wood for that. If you wanted to build a chest, all you need is 8 planks. It doesn't matter which wood type. If you needed to make a bunch of sticks for something, or let's say you wanted to make composters, barrels, chiseled bookshelves. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this game that you can craft that doesn't require a specific wood type. So now if you need any of these items that are kind of universal, that use universal wood, you can now farm bamboo and have virtually an unlimited supply of wood for these items. All in all though, I think the bamboo wood is a great new addition to the game. It gives you so many really unique ways to decorate your builds. I think especially, like, look at this mosaic bamboo I used as a ceiling here just as an example. There are just so many really neat opportunities. The doors look great, the trapdoors look great. I mean, all of these features just look clean. I mean, look at this, look at these floors, and look at, I made a nice little, like, you know, I don't know what you would call this, but like a nice little roof here that you can see through with these new trapdoors. It just looks so great. It looks amazing. That, you know, combined with some of these other features that we have in the game, I use the sides of the new chiseled bookshelves here. It looks great. It just all looks really nice and clean. You can integrate some of this stuff into new floor designs. I mean, the opportunities are really endless here, and I am really excited for what a lot of people within the community are going to come up with. And of course, don't worry, I did not forget, we have rafts. These new bamboo boats that are now in raft form. So you can take these around and ride it just like you would like a nice little raft. I mean, that's so cool. Now, you also have, you know, raft boat. So you have so many options. And honestly, I'm gonna have to play around with these features at another time, but these are cool. And if I actually just show you this on the ground, look at this. You have this nice little curvature to it. It looks like a really well-crafted raft that it even looks like it's been made out of the bamboo shoots themselves. And overall, even with the paddles on these oars, I don't know, I just think this is a nice, clean design, and I'm excited for it. Okay, so now the last major thing I wanted to cover were changes to the creative inventory. So according to the Snapshot page, Mojang actually changed up the creative inventory to reorder the tabs and all their contents, and they made tweaks so that finding relevant blocks and items in the game is going to be a little easier. So just looking very briefly here, you can see right now when you go into the building block section, you can see all of the oak. Anything related to oak is all in one, you know, all together. Whereas before, and I'll have to show this, I'll have to do like a side-by-side comparison here so that you can see this a little bit more clearly. But it used to be where they would organize things so that all the logs were together and then all the planks were together. And I don't know, it was harder to find things. And when I've kind of played around with this just a bit, just to see if, for me, the difference was noticeable. And I gotta say, this new inventory is actually much, much easier to navigate. They've actually updated some of the tabs. They've cleared a few of them. Like, for example, some of the tabs have actually just been completely renamed or collapsed into others, and there used to be a brewing tab, and there's actually not a brewing tab here anymore. And they've also made it so that some items can actually be found in more than one place, so that if a certain type of block fits more than one category, you can actually find it in different places. So, like, for example, we have the oak log right here. If I go in the building block section, if I switch over to the nature blocks tab, oak log is here as well. So now things are organized in a much more organic manner, and when you're thinking of a block that you want to access, I think you can more easily deduce where that might be. If I think, I look like they added the new functional blocks tab. If I wanted to find the loom, for example, if I go through these tabs, I can go, yeah, not here, not here. Functional blocks, yeah, definitely would be there. And there it is, there's the loom. So I think the overall changes to this are great. Now, I don't use creative mode that much, but I do use it to kind of play around with certain features, different mechanics before I actually go into a survival world and spend a lot of time building those things. I've recently started to use creative mode a little bit more to plan out the designs for my build so that I can save a little bit of time when I'm actually in a survival world and actually know what kind of blocks I need before I start a big project. So this creative inventory menu really is a game changer. And it's one of those things where if you've never really used the creative inventory before, you may not notice some of these changes, but for those that use this on a regular basis, this is big. And of course, there are a bunch of bug fixes and technical changes to the snapshot. So if you want to check those out, there's a link in the description to the snapshot page. Now, before I wrap this up, I do want to make sure I include the fact that they added bundles back into the snapshot. So you can now play around with these in the game. For those who maybe if you're new to some of these snapshots, bundles were added to the were added in the snapshots way back during the Caves and Cliffs update. Mojang has been experimenting with them ever since. They still have no official announcement in terms of whether they're going to add this to the game, but the fact that they've added these into the snapshot kind of tells me that they clearly want these things to be in the game, and they're just looking for additional feedback. So for a quick overlook, really all you do is the bundle itself. This is the animation for when the bundle is open. As soon as you put something in, and there's a couple ways you can do this. The easiest way is just to grab the bundle, right click over an item, and it puts the item in the bundle. So if you look into the bundle's inventory, you can see there are 11 mangrove logs in that bundle's inventory. If you want to take that out, you just right click again and place it there. And the cool thing about bundles is that it gives you the ability to take a bunch of these items. So right now you have a bunch of random items in my inventory that are taking up 8 individual slots of inventory space. So what a bundle does is it says you can take all these random items and fit them within its own like 64 stack like you would normally be able to do, but it allows you to mix and match different items. So now I can right click on all of these, put each of these individual items into a bundle, and all 8 of those items just take up 1 inventory space. So in terms of inventory management, if you're just like, especially early game or throughout the game when you start to acquire a lot of items, this is going to give us a really great way to say, okay, instead of ditching a bunch of stuff you don't need, you can just throw together a bundle, put a bunch of your junk in it that you might, need later but don't really have the space for, and now you don't have to throw stuff out. So I think this is going to be a great addition to the game if they do decide to add it. It still isn't clear. This is all just a snapshot, but you can see that they're taking it seriously. To empty the items back out, all you have to do is right click each, and the only criticism I have right now is that you have to do this one by one. So if you have all these in there and you needed your flint, you have to dump the whole thing out to get it. So maybe if they could add some kind of UI feature that allows me to individually take the item that I need out one at a time, I think that would be nice. But until then, these things are here in the game, in the snapshots for you to play with. So please do, and give Mojang your feedback. And that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to jump into this game, play around with some of these new features for yourself, and provide Mojang with some feedback so that they can make this update great. They made it very clear during Minecraft Live that they wanted this update to be community driven, and that they would take your feedback seriously, so please, don't miss your chance to have your voice heard. I'll include a few ways you can do that in the description. Anyway, I greatly appreciate anyone who's made it this far in the video. This is my first video, and I have plenty of exciting content to come, so please like and subscribe. You guys know the deal. This is a new adventure for me, and I'd really love for you all to join me along the way. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.